This means no electricity is needed to operate them. But digital cameras, on the other hand, have built-in computers and function electronically. Images are captured and recorded using digital technology. Unlike with film, photographs aren't stored as patterns of darkness and light, but instead as long strings of numbers. This is what allows us to use, store, share, and manipulate photos instantly. Digital cameras function simply this way. When you press the button to take the photograph, an aperture opens and the light streams into the lens. This is the same process as with a film camera. But that's as far as the similarities go. Instead of film, digital cameras use a piece of electronic equipment to capture the incoming light rays and turn these into electronic signals. This light detector is called a charge-coupled device, or CCD. It's stored via a green rectangular chip with gold wires. Now let's try to understand how a digital camera works by understanding pixel images. Take a look at the television screen closely. Notice how the pictures are made up of very tiny colored dots or squares called pixels. Images on laptop LCD computer screens also use pixels. In these TV or computer screens, electronic equipment can switch these colored pixels on and off instantly. Light from the screen travels to your eyes and your brain is fooled to seeing large moving pictures. Now the exact opposite happens in a digital camera. The light that comes from the object you're taking a photo of zooms into the camera lens. This incoming image hits the CCD, or the light detector. It breaks up the image into millions and millions of pixels. Then the CCD measures the color and brightness of each pixel and stores it as a number. As a result, your digital image becomes a long series of numbers, each containing the exact details of what every pixel contains. And this is how the image is converted and stored digitally.
everyone, welcome to the program. I'm Janet Unterschlag and I'm here to do English with you today. And we are very grateful for the support of Liberty that go out of their way to make sure that we can have this program. Please won't you connect with us? You can find us on the Tenfold education app, and you can have a look at all the material that's there and the past papers and the help that we can give you. You can also find us on WhatsApp, and please send through questions. It's really important as we approach the end of the year that we know what it is that you're struggling with. And you can also contact us on YouTube at Mindset Learn. And again, you can tell us what your problems are, and we can target specifically those areas where you feel you need a lot of help. For this afternoon, I've chosen a combination of writing and literature. Writing because you want to get the highest possible mark for your writing that you can possibly get. And I want to look at the transactional section, and we're going to look specifically at a report. So I've started with what is transactional writing, because I think it's quite important here that you have in your head some idea of what we are talking about. And when you think about transactional writing, you're thinking of section B and section C. I'm focusing on section B. So remember, transactional writing is writing for a purpose. So you must always say to yourself, what is the purpose of this particular piece of writing? And I've said there that transactional writing records and communicates information. So it is the more factual kind of writing. We think of it in a business context or a work context to a large extent, if you're thinking about letters and emails, and obviously a report. So it's that kind of writing, and you can do very, very well in it if you practice. Now, if you know anything about the way that I teach, you know that I talk about gaps. So especially with your transactional writing, you say to yourself, what are the gaps of this particular kind of writing? And it stands for, first of all, the genre, then the audience, then the purpose, and finally the style. So any piece of writing, you're going to go, what are my gaps? And you're going to say, okay, I'm looking at a report. Who's my audience? What's my purpose? What's my style? So please, as you revise, you're doing the email or the dialogue, the flyer, the invitation, the directions, the instructions, the diary entry. You start by saying, right, what is my genre? So let's say it's a letter. Narrow it down. What kind of letter am I being asked to write? A letter of application, a letter of complaint, a letter of congratulation, of sympathy, of condolence. What kind of letter am I being asked to write? And that is your genre. And then your audience. Who are you writing it to? Now, in something like a dialogue, the audience is the person you're talking to. In an interview, the person you're talking to. Then your purpose. Go back to the question, why are you doing this? What are you trying to achieve? And then what style is suited to the genre, the audience, and the purpose? So always your gaps. Please plan using gaps. So I'm talking about the formal or investigative report. So when you read a report, you go back to the idea that you are communicating information. Fair enough. But you want to convey that information in a format that makes it easy for the person who's going to read the report to grasp that information, to get that information quickly. So when your curriculum talks about a formal report, it means an investigative report. So you would have had to do some kind of investigation. How do you investigate? You ask questions, you collect data, and you're then going to present it. You could read something to investigate, you could interview. You are going to investigate something. So this is the formal report. On the paper, it'll say the formal report. The audience is who asked you to write it. And then say to yourself, why? Why has this person asked me to write this report? What is the purpose? Now, I know it's to provide information, but information about what? What is it exactly that you have had to investigate that you are then going to present to this person who wants the report? It's a bit dark. Let's go for a slightly lighter one. So do you see, we're looking for the interrelationship of I'm investigating, right, who asked me to investigate? Okay, why did this person ask me to investigate? What does this person want out of my investigation? And then we come to style. And you are considering the language that is appropriate and the format. So if I think about a report, first of all, I'm expecting some kind of title up here. Then I'm expecting a whole lot of things over here. What am I expecting? The name of the person that you've written the report for, the audience. A development, perhaps, of that title. Maybe some kind of sentence about the report. Then I'm expecting the report to be written. So here comes my written report. I would quite expect bullets in a report. Maybe we write again. Maybe we number. You can see that the way it's laid out on the page helps the person's eye go from the title down the page and see what information is being presented. Please don't crunch it all up. That isn't easy to read. You're trying to look at this report and get those main ideas, get that information quickly. So set it out nicely. And then I'm also expecting at the end of the report, so the person's finished writing, and I might expect another heading and some more writing. And then right at the end, I'm expecting a signature, a name that is printed, and a date. You can, if you want to, put the date up here. So this could be to a particular person, and then something longer about the report, so some sort of explanation or description of the report. And then you could put the date right there. You could even put from right there. But I'm still expecting a signature at the end. What kind of language am I expecting? This is a formal report. I'm expecting formal language. So what does that mean? No contractions. No wouldn'ts, wheels, we've, there, no contractions. I'm not expecting I either. So you might say, but hang on. I did the investigation. I went out and asked questions. Surely I can say in the report, I asked the following questions, and there are the questions that you asked. It's not a good idea in a formal report to use I. Use third person instead. So I is first person, and third person is he or she or it or they. So the following questions were asked, passive voice, and then you write the questions. And that is better style for a report. It's a formal investigative report. It is not the informal eyewitness report. Formal investigative report. So what have I said I'm expecting? Headings, a very specific audience, and we've said this twice. So we've got headings. I said to you I expect a title, some writing. I expect headings in the report. A very specific target, that is the person we are writing to, and a very specific purpose. Why was I asked to write this particular report? So what are some of the headings I can expect to see? 2, the title. Now what this means is an explanation, not too long, of why the report was written. So your terms of reference, this report was requested by and is the result of an investigation into. Just a little bit more, just explain a little bit more the title and the to, who asked for it, what's it about. Then if you're in a very formal investigative report, you're going to need those 3 things. Now these can be difficult. It wouldn't be difficult if you actually did the report, if you did all the investigation, because by doing it, you would know what you did. So your procedure is basically answering the question, what did I do to get the information? Did I phone somebody? Did I visit a company? Did I question the workers? What did I actually do? So that's got to be in your mind. So here you are sitting in the matric exam and thinking about it. So in your mind, you are saying, okay, what did I do to get this information? And you put down the procedure is what you did. Remember, past tense, because you're writing a report about what you did. A number of students make the mistake of saying they will, because they haven't got into the report yet. So they're thinking, okay, what would I do if I were to write this report? I would do this, I would do that. I will do this, I will do that. You've got to imagine in your mind, I've done all of this. So what did I do? I measured the room. I worked out the wall space. I worked out how much paint I would need. I went to the shop and I asked for them for the right amount of paint for that wall. So that's what you did in your head. And then you would write procedure 1. The walls were measured. 2. The extent of the wall that needed to be painting was calculated. 3. Enough paint was bought for this. That's what you did. Now, when you come to findings, findings is what did you find out from your investigation. So here you could put the size of the length of the walls, the expanse. So, you're going to work out that, then you're going to work out the whole thing. 3, what the paint cost, let's say. Now, your conclusions are from your procedure and from your findings, what did you conclude? Right, so this doesn't really work with my paint example, but let's say you're asked to investigate buying a hat for the learners in your school. So what did you do? You asked the stockists for the various kinds of hats that they stock, and the prices, and the availability. Then your findings would be, right, the stockist said this. So you went to 3 stockists because you normally got to get 3 quotes. The stockist said this. So stockist 1 said, these are the hats. This is what they cost. This is the availability. Stockist 2 said, these are the hats. These are the prices. This is the availability. Stockist 3, da-da-da-da-da-da. Right, your conclusions. Now, your conclusions could be something like, all the hats would be equally available, so that's not an issue. However, this particular stockist is not prepared to provide a beanie, will only provide like a boater. You know, a boater's that kind of hat, you know, and it's sort of usually in a strawy color or a white color. So they'll only provide boaters, and many of the students have requested a beanie. Then you need to look at the other stockists. Do they provide beanies? What about cost? Which one would be most cost effective? Maybe one stockist says, if you're going to get 1,500 hats, we'll give you a huge discount. So what we really need to do is to go with this particular one. But actually, I've got 2 recommendations. So my conclusions is this particular stockist, if we buy that number of hats, the price will be the best. So now we come to recommendations. So you would recommend that every student be approached, everybody's got to pay their money, then you go to the stockist, then you buy the hat or the beanie or whatever. And then I'm expecting the date and the signature. And so I like a signature first, then I like the name printed, and then I like the date at the bottom of it. The best way to practice transactional writing is by writing. So go to a past paper. Have a look at what the examiners are setting. Are they setting a full-on investigation into new uniform item, new sport at your school, building a school hall? I mean, is it a big investigation that you have to go and find out a whole lot of information? You have to speak to staff, parents, ground staff, children. You know, is it this massive thing, or is it something smaller and you can adapt what I've just shown you? Go and look at past papers and try one, because the only way you learn how to write is by writing. And you need to practice. Transactional writing is where you can get full marks on the paper if your language is good, your sentences simple and clear and correct, and you know what you're doing. So it is important to practice. So you know what's coming. Right, we're going to do some practicing. So we start with the style of the report. So I've said to you, if you can get your grammar correct and your sentences are simple and correct, your language objective, no feelings if possible, not this wonderful stockist, this amazing person. Keep it as unemotional as possible. And remember, you're always looking at your gaps. So what is my genre? It's a report. Who's my audience? Always. What is my purpose? What is the context in which I'm writing this report? Think about simple, correct sentences. Think about words. Think about tone. So you want it very calm and businesslike in a report. And your layout and your punctuation and your presentation. Now this goes with layout. So you're imagining it on the page, and you know what I imagined. I imagined something that looked like this, and you're going to see that your report looks something along those lines. Cannot mention this too often. Who's getting the report? Now, in your head, you need to practice these 6 steps. Right, so in your head, you're going to investigate, collect, think about the information you've got, and then think about your recommendations and prepare and write the report. And this obviously is what you do in the exam, but you have to imagine all of this inside your head. And here is a past paper. Let's look at it. Okay, so it's not a full-on investigation. So I'm a supervisor of a group of workers. Fine. One has been absent for more than 2 weeks. The manager wants to know why. Why has this person been absent? So it's a sort of an investigation. So what would we think about? What do we have to have? A title, always. A heading for your report. So presumably we've got to give the worker a name. So give the worker a name. I'm just going to call the worker XY, but you need a proper name. XY's absenteeism. Let's use that word. That will be the heading of my report. Then I said we should say to. So it's to the manager. Either you can write the manager or you can write the person's name. Fine. Then we said the terms of reference. If you want to, you could put this in. What would I use for the terms of reference? I would take it from this. I would say XY has been absent for more than 2 weeks. I take this little bit. Ms., whoever this is, asked for a report giving the reasons. I wouldn't say me because this is a report and I don't want to use first person. But I could use some of the question here. So check. Can a little bit of the question on the question paper be used? That's my terms of reference. Now, would I want procedure, findings, conclusions, recommendations? No. Can you see that? That doesn't fit for me. Not here. So what I would do is I would say something like, so in my head, what would I have said? I would have gone off to XY and said, the manager wants to know why you're absent. So in my report, XY was asked to explain her absenteeism, full stop. Then reasons. I think a simple heading like that, reasons. 1, 2, 3. Right, so why has she been absent for more than 2 weeks? She has had gastric flu. She was put off by the doctor. The doctor said that a sick note would be emailed to the manager on the first date. So give it a date. She's had gastric flu. All right, gastric flu, vomiting, diarrhea, runny tummy. So she's had gastric flu since, and give a date. So let's say Monday, where are we? What was Monday? Was Monday the 6th? Don't know. So Monday the 6th, she's had gastric flu. She saw the doctor on Monday afternoon, and the doctor booked her off for 2 weeks. No, she's been away for more than 3 weeks, more than 2 weeks. So the doctor booked her off for 3 weeks. It's a bit long for gastric flu, but anyway, right? So the doctor booked her off and said that the sick note would be emailed to the company that evening. Right, new paragraph. She didn't know that the sick note hadn't arrived, and since she has no email and her cell phone was stolen, she wasn't able, she didn't get any messages from the office. Right, good. Do I have to put in anything else? Hang on, let's go back. I'm the supervisor, fine. Been absent for more than 2 weeks, fine. Your manager's asked you to write a report giving reasons for the absenteeism. Not sure that I could add anything else in. What do you think? So we've got the gastric flu, we've got the booked off, we've got the sick note, and we've got an explanation as to why she wasn't responding to emails or WhatsApps or whatever. Okay, I think that's fine. So then it would be my signature, print my name, and date it. Right, let's see if we've missed out on anything. Did we have a topic? Yes, we did. We had the fact that this person had been sick and had been absent for more than 2 weeks. Did we have the recipient? The recipient is the person who's going to receive the report. Yes, we had 2, and we either put the name or we wrote the manager. So yeah. Have we got a sender? Yes, because at the end, we signed it, we printed our name, and we've got a date. Did we give reasons for the person's absenteeism? Yes, we did. We wrote a little bit of introduction. She was asked to explain. Then we had the heading, reasons. Then we put the reasons down. And then we had a little bit of explanation as to why she hadn't contacted the office. Should I get good 30 marks? Well, I actually think I should. I fulfilled the requirements. Now, those requirements I've just shown you were the requirements that they put into the memo for 2019. So notice it didn't need that full-on investigation, because this is not an investigation. You'd go to the person and you'd say, why were you absent? The manager's having a fit. And are we presuming the person's back at work? Because if the person's not back at work, you better go there. You could say something like, having tried to phone and getting no response, I went, not very happy about the I, but yes, I went to the person's house, and this is the explanation. And maybe then, thinking about it, if I go to the person's house, maybe she will be back, because this is over 2 weeks, she will be back at the beginning of the next week. Something like that, right? And she will bring a copy of the sick note with her. So if you think about it, if you plan it, do you see, and we did plan it, then when you look at what they required as the examiners, we did all of that. And if we did it really nicely and we set it out nicely and our grammar and our spelling and our punctuation were all good, we're going to get full marks. Why not? We did really well. So please won't you practice the report? It does come up. Please go back through past papers and see what's been set and try them. And tell me if you hit any problems. I battled with this, or I found I was doing very nicely and then I ran out of things to say. I said X, Y, Z. What else could I have said to get to the right number of words? The second part of our program is literature. But let's take an ad break so that we can begin fresh on the other side.
No one ever asks why we do the weird things we do. Like, why once is never enough? Or doing 2 trips is just one too many? Why do we, before we use these, or say 5 when we mean 20? Why do we have second thoughts? And think that lift buttons make them go faster? Why don't we walk there? Cross our fingers, touch wood, and struggle to hide our true feelings? At Liberty, we want to know all the weird and wonderful things that make us human, because human beings, being human, are what we make financial solutions for. Liberty, in it with you.
Did you know that your heart beats over 100,000 times a day? It is estimated that the human heart beats about 80 times per minute on average. That's 4,800 times per hour and over 100,000 times per day. If you were to assume an average life expectancy of 75 years, the heart will have beaten over 3 billion times.
Welcome back to the program. We're looking at English this afternoon, and Liberty is in it with us. So with Liberty's support, we're examining things that might help you, at least I hope will help you with your exam. Please won't you contact us on the Tenfold Education app, have a look at what we have to offer, get in touch with us. Also, you can find us on WhatsApp. And remember, I'm always looking for questions. I want to know what you are having trouble with. So very specific questions, please, or you can put them on YouTube at Mindset Learn. So tell me exactly what it is you're having trouble with. Not just, could I summarize a play, but these lines, this chapter, this character, whatever. Something nice and specific that I can get my teeth into. And I've chosen the November 2020 question on Macbeth. So if you are doing drama, you have a choice of 2 dramas, and this is Macbeth. You will read extracts, you will watch the mark allocation, and be very careful. Some students think you can choose either this one or this one. You've got to do both questions, both extracts. Right. Now I seem to be having some trouble. Hang on. The mouse is extremely irritating and doesn't work nearly nicely enough. Right, extract A. Please notice what the examiners do for you. They give you a little explanation so that if, when you look at the passage, you're not sure, there's a little bit of help at the top. And then if we go down to the bottom, it tells you act and scene. So if you put this together with what you are told at the top, then you should be able to work out where you are in the play. So just read through this quickly. Okay, so that is quite quick. I just wanted you to scan it so that you've got an idea of where it comes, and I hope that by looking at it, you're going, yeah, I know this, but yep, I know what we're up to. And we'll go back to it as we need to. Right. This is a very typical question in an FAL paper. Now, what do they say? In your answer book, you write, you number in the middle of the page, so you number there, then you come to this margin and you write, and then you choose the capital A, B, C, D, E. So what do you choose for A? B, C, and D. Oh no, hang on. That doesn't make any sense. Colmkill is Duncan's grave. That's better. And Scone is Macbeth's coronation. Right, that's all you do. Please, you do not write any of these words. You do not write any of these phrases. You just write A, B, C, D, and the answer. 1 mark each, 4 marks. Right, now this requires prior knowledge. If you go back and look at the passage, there is no explanation of why Duncan is coming here tonight. So, when you have a contextual question, some of the answers will be based on the text, and you will discuss the language in the text. But you do need to know what came before and what comes afterwards. And you're expected to place that passage in its context, which is where it comes in the play. And you are expected to have that knowledge. So if we go back to the question, why is he visiting Macbeth? Well, Macbeth has just defeated Scotland's enemies, and Duncan is very grateful to Macbeth for what he has done for him and for Scotland, and he wants to show Macbeth how grateful he is. So it's only 1 mark. So I think start with the show. Duncan wants to show his gratitude, how grateful, how thankful he is to Macbeth for defeating Scotland's enemies. So if you remember, and you don't need this, it's 1 mark, but Macbeth defeated the traitor, or the traitors. First of all, there's MacDonald, and then there's the Thane of Cawdor, and then he defeated the Norwegians. The King of Norway invaded. But you don't need all of that. It's 1 mark. So he just wants to show Macbeth, or he wants to thank Macbeth for fighting so well and defeating his enemies. Right. Look at the second question. Go back to the lines. I cannot emphasize this enough. Go back to the lines. Why is it so important? Because if you don't go back to the lines, you could base your answer on other lines, but the examiner wanted you to look at these lines. So you can't say, well, I'm justifying what I'm saying, or I'm talking about those lines when you're meant to be talking about these lines. So please, take a highlighter, take a pencil, underline the lines. Right, now having got the lines, what do we have to do with them? Okay, so this is hard, and I know it is hard. But you've got to battle with it, and you've got to practice. So it's 1 mark for stating the tone, and 1 mark for saying why that tone. So there's your key word here. Let's go back to the lines and have a look. My dearest love, Duncan comes here tonight. And when goes hence? So Duncan is coming here to us tonight. When is he leaving? And tomorrow, as he purposes. Now this word is very important here, because this is what he plans to do. This is what he's planning. And she says, oh, never shall sun that morrow see. What is her tone? Remember the tone is the feeling that you would hear in Lady Macbeth's voice if these words were in my speech bubble. If she was saying, oh, never shall sun that morrow see. What's her tone? What are you hearing? What's she feeling? So what could we say? Her tone is, I really want a word like implacable, but okay, let me just write it down. Implacable is when you are not going to change your mind. So you are saying, never shall sun that morrow see. Not going to happen. So that is implacable. There's a kind of, it's like fixed quality in the voice. Okay, he's never going to see tomorrow. The sun is never going to rise on him tomorrow. He'll be dead tonight. So determined, resolute. That's that feeling in her. It's going to happen. So determined is another word you could use, or determination. There are many teachers that prefer a tone as a noun. Determination, resolve. If you are resolved, you are resolute, you are determined, certain. Not going to happen. This is what's going to happen. Any of those words, just one word. Now, why? So if you've said her tone is implacable, now use the word determined, because she is determined that the sun will not see the morrow, will not see tomorrow. Now, obviously, the sun is going to see tomorrow because the sun is going to rise tomorrow. It's going to go up in the sky. So what does she mean? She means that Duncan will never see tomorrow. The sun will not rise on Duncan tomorrow. He will be dead. And she is determined that they're going to kill him that night. That's why. Also, you could say something like, she is determined to persuade Macbeth. Right? Macbeth is still going, maybe, yeah, no, you know, typical South African, yeah, near. He's not entirely convinced. So her voice must be like steel. It's going to happen. We're going to make it happen. So it's that. So it's either her determination or her determination to persuade Macbeth that their course of action must be to murder Duncan that night. No other night, that night. Now, you know, I found this a very interesting question. I've taught this play so many times, but never actually stopped to look long enough at why she says your face. So explain why. So why is she focusing on his face? And then this means, please learn this, give a reason. Now, can I get you to write NB, 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 NB? The examiners complain every year that students seem to read, or candidates seem to read the first part of the question. So they read that, but they don't read this. So they have now, as you can see, they've actually placed it with a space in between so that they're hoping your eye will see this. Because if they put it there, they find students don't get there. So it's 2 marks. It's 1 mark here and 1 mark here. So they used to put it there. And they're now putting it here in the hope that you will see it and answer it. You've got to read to the end of the question. Right, so we've got to go back to those lines. Your face, my Thane, is as a book where men may read strange matters. To beguile the time, look like the time. Bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. So here I would look right down to there for an explanation of why she's looking at his face. What are the strange matters? What are we talking about here? Obviously, the thoughts in Macbeth's head about murder. So she's saying to him, just by looking at your face, men, people, can read what you are thinking about. You must beguile the time. You must trick. The time here means people at this time. To beguile the time, to trick them. You must look like the time. You must look like everybody else. You must bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue. So when Duncan comes, you must, your eye, your hand, your tongue. You must say, welcome, my liege. Welcome, your majesty. Your hand must be there in welcome. Please come in. Please sit down. Please make yourself at home. Your eye must look welcoming, pleased to see your king, full of love and loyalty. The tongue must say the words of loyal submission and welcome. Bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue, because you must look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. So let us draw the innocent flower. It would help if I turned my pen around the right way. Here's my innocent flower. You must look like the innocent flower, but you must be, I want to change color. You must be the serpent. Oh, that's just too dark. Hang on, let's get all right, let's try a light gray. You must be the serpent who is under the flower, waiting to bite. So why is she drawing attention to his face? She is pointing out to him that people will see his thoughts. He must, oh, come on, let's use the word mask. Come on, isn't that appropriate? He must mask his feelings with putting on an innocent, welcoming face so that nobody will suspect what they are planning. They won't be stopped because nobody will guess what's going on behind the mask. And it's not the masks we're wearing. It's the mask of welcome, Your Highness. Welcome, Your Majesty. My liege, you are here. I'm so glad to see you. Okay, nice question. I thought that was a really nice question. Right. And notice how we got there. We went to the lines and we read those lines, but we also read what came after it to get some idea of why she's saying this. And we really saw it. So 2 marks. I would say his face, everybody can read his thoughts of murder, and she wants him to mask his emotions. She wants him to hide his emotions so that nobody will know what they're planning. Lovely. And I should get my 2 marks, I would think. All right. 2 ways in which he'll be provided for. Let's go back to the text. There are some lines that Lady Macbeth says that I find give me a chill. He that's coming must be provided for. Right. Who is coming? Duncan. He is coming tonight. He is the king. Obviously, you have to make the appropriate arrangements. You don't just have a king arrive and say, I think we've got a boiled egg. All right? You've got to have the beds done and places for his servants and a proper meal. And. What about entertainment? You need somebody doing some rap there, you know? So you need something to... So, provided for, we must make all the necessary arrangements for our guest, who is the king. But he that's coming must be provided for. What else are they preparing? To kill him. So it's a marvelously terrifying line. She can be very frightening, can Lady Macbeth? Right, so we've got 2 ways, 1, 2 marks in the bag. What do those words reveal about Macbeth's state of mind? Macbeth, at this point in the play. And once again, instead of putting this there, they've put it there in the hope that you're going to see it. So what does it show about his state of mind? And give me a reason. Okay, so let's have a look. She says, and you shall put, I'm here, and you shall put this night's great business into my dispatch. What is the great business? Murdering Duncan. Who does she say is going to murder Duncan? She says she is. Which shall to all our nights and days to come give solely sovereign sway and masterdom. Sovereign is the king. So leave it to me. We'll kill this king and then we shall take over. And he says, we will speak further. And she replies, only look up clear, to alter favor ever is to fear. Leave all the rest to me. So we will speak further. What is his state of mind? What is he saying to her? I want to talk about this some more. Why? Because he is unsure. He's undecided. Maybe undecided is a better word. He's sure that he wants to be king. He's undecided about whether he wants to be king by murdering the king. So, yeah, he's not entirely convinced that they should go through with the murder. Right. Then the passage goes straight on into the next scene. So let's see what they want us to do with this. Well, they want us to pause and discuss whether or not he's a tragic hero. Oh, wow. Let's write for 3 marks, let's say about 6 lines, what people have written books on. Oh, my golly gumdrops. Okay, so you'd better think about this, people, or you're going to write too much and not get to the point. I write on my students' answers, GTTP, get to the point. So I think you need to plan this. I really would stop and do a wee bit of planning. A tragic hero, we're going back to Aristotle. You're not going to put all of this into your answer. This is what you're thinking. Aristotle said that a tragic hero must have a high position. Macbeth has a high position. He is a member of the royal family, and he is the most successful general in Scotland at the moment. Then Aristotle said that he makes a choice, and that choice leads to disaster. So he said he is a man that we can admire because of his qualities. So he has great qualities. He's got greatness, not only from his high position, but also from who he is as a person. So Macbeth has a high position. He's royal, but he's also a general. So if we just think about what qualities that would mean, he has courage. You can't be a general without it. I presume he has intelligence. I mean, how do you plan a battle without intelligence? He has perseverance. He's got to have leadership. Your men have to follow you into battle. They can't leave you there. So he's got to have leadership qualities. So he's got some kind of charisma, courage, and intelligence. But he makes a choice that leads to disaster. Does Macbeth make such a choice? Yes. He chooses murder as a way to become king. Does that lead to disaster? Yes. Now we need to know the play. How does it lead to disaster? I don't want to go into the next extract, so I'm going to plan here. First of all, he is, do we know the word alienated? He becomes separated from everything of value. So he becomes separate from God, from his wife, from his people. He ends up murdering or arranging the murder of his friend So basically, he loses. There is such a loss. He loses everything of value. He loses any kind of admiration that we could have for him. And he loses any kind of value of his great qualities, because look at this, leadership. He's now no longer leading his people, he's killing them. His courage is what? Is kind of wild, violent, reckless. He becomes reckless rather than brave. And his intelligence is turned to self-protection. Right. And we've got to do this for 3 marks in about 6 lines. Right. I wouldn't mention Aristotle. I would say something like, a tragic hero. Oh no, Macbeth is a tragic hero because he has a high position, both a member of the royal family and a general, and the qualities of courage, intelligence, and leadership. However, this greatness is lost when he makes a choice that leads to disaster. That's my second sentence. And this disaster involves the loss of himself, his marriage, his relationship with God, and with his friends and his people. Right, so you can see what I've tried to do here. I've tried to sum it all up in 3 sentences. But you're not going to get 3 good sentences if you don't plan it. Now, can you say he's not a tragic hero? Yes, but then what's the definition of a tragic hero inside your head? So I started with, what is the definition of a tragic hero that I'm assuming you have been taught at school? We go back to Aristotle. Aristotle lived before Christ, but we all go back to that definition and we work on that definition. So you've got to have a definition of a tragic hero here, but I don't think you've got space and time to write your definition. You simply answer the question. And I will hope to look at the second passage next week. Thank you for joining me. Remember to send in your questions. Have a lovely week from me. Bye-bye.
What's up, peeps? Welcome to Moby School. We are here to make sure that you, yes, you get all the marks that you deserve on the go. We're here every Mondays to Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. only on Mindset Learn TV. Now, this is a whole hour worth of revision just for you, and I hope that you've got your notepads and your pens ready, and that you and your study group are game for today's revision session. Now, my name is Jo, and just like you, I am also in Matric, and I'm here for a whole hour to make sure that I ace my final exams, and I hope that you will be doing the exact same thing. Now, do remember that we love hearing from you guys, so log on to our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/MobySchoolSA. Drop us your comments, like our page, share the page, and even spread the Moby School family even bigger. Now, isn't that cool? Yep. Yes, it is. Now, do remember that you can catch us here for a whole hour of revision session where all of our awesome teachers come right here to help you guys revise. So on that note of the first revision session,